While the 501c3 nonprofit organization is a great way to get involved in your community and help others, there are some serious drawbacks to operating one. In this article, we'll explore some of the pitfalls of running a 501c3 nonprofit organization and how to avoid them. Charity organizations have been criticized for a long time. Charity organizations have been criticized for a long time. They are often accused of being corrupt and of taking advantage of the poor. Some experts say that charity organizations are actually harmful to the poor. They argue that these organizations do not help the poor to become self-sufficient, but instead rely on government assistance to stay afloat. Others say that charity organizations are necessary for the poor. They argue that without these organizations, the poor would be left alone and would be at risk of becoming homeless or starving to death. The church has been criticized for engaging in shady practices. The church has been criticized for engaging in shady practices for years. Some of the most common complaints against the church include its use of scare tactics to influence members, its financial ties to business interests, and its practice of proselytizing by force. Critics say that the church often uses scare tactics to influence members. For example, the church has a history of using fear-mongering propaganda to try and convince people that they need to join the church. This includes teachings about how joining the church will protect them from harm and help them reach their divine potential. The church also has a history of being financially connected to business interests. For example, it is currently funded by donations from members and rich individuals. This raises questions about how independent the church really is from outside influences. Finally, critics say that the church engages in proselytizing by force. This means that members are pressured into joining the church by missionaries or church officials. This can be destructive because it can lead to mental health problems and addiction. Nonprofit organizations are vulnerable to shady practices. The church is a well-known and respected institution in society. However, the sad truth is that nonprofit organizations are vulnerable to shady practices. One of the most common shady practices that nonprofit organizations are vulnerable to is money laundering. This occurs when money from illegal activities, such as drug trafficking, is funneled through a nonprofit organization and then out of the country. This can lead to the organization being shut down and the people involved in the illegal activity getting away with their crimes. Another common shady practice that nonprofit organizations are vulnerable to is fraud. This occurs when someone tries to cheat or defraud the organization by claiming to be something they're not, such as a donor or representative from a different country. If this happens, the organization can end up losing money and credibility. Nonprofit organizations should be careful about who they allow to board their boards and how much control they give them over their finances. Doing so will help protect them from shady practices and fraud. Conclusion: it's no secret that the church can be a powerful force in our lives. From providing us with moral guidance to offering comfort in times of distress, the church has a lot to offer. But what many people don't know is that the 501c3 nonprofit organization is also a powerful tool for churches. By creating and operating a 501c3 nonprofit organization, churches can raise money without having to disclose their donors. This makes it difficult for individuals and organizations who want to challenge or critique the church. As we've seen throughout history, when there are limits placed on free speech, democracy suffers. We need to continue speaking out against injustices regardless of where they occur, so that all voices can be heard and democracy can thrive.